So he started to explain the whole union of Chayli and explain the whole process of Seder Shtalshus. The beginning is dark, and then V'hoda L'hoira. The Reishach HaSheiches that Nishab explained yesterday, Oisius V'Roishem, letters and a trace. We explained yesterday what that means. Letters means Mamish Gvul. And Roishem means a trace or impression of what? Of the Bli Gvul. So that means thereafter. This is the whole source of the Chayli. It means that thereafter, since factored into creation, is still a trace of Hashem's revelation, its impression. Meaning to say that on every level of Hishtalshalos, there is the sense and the awareness of higher. The Eir is not fundamentally and totally eclipsed, and that it comes from a higher source in simple language. At every level of Hishtalshalos is the awareness that it comes from a higher place. And the station where that level is not reality. So therefore that engenders the Chayli, the longing. So the process is after, so the Oisius and the Roshim remain after the Tzimtzum. Then Hoda L'hoira, that's the Kav. Now, in actual fact, relative to the Eir, it is now no longer illuminating. So the Roshim and the Oisius are the Kalim, and that's Helim. It's all Arichas, even though it comes from the Kalim come from the Eir, and therefore from the Mo'ir, it's one Eibishter, it's all him. But the way they emerge in their conscious state in such that there's the silic of that revelation. And their state, their overt conscious state, is concealment and distance. He drew the contrast to the neshama and the gufa. The gufa is a keli, the neshama that enlivens it. The gufa, they're two separate things. So there, in the case of the gufa and the neshama, the gufa and the neshama leaves. There's no shaykhis to the neshama. The etzim is always a connection remains, but away from Golui, their Eir and Keli are not the same as Eir and Keli L'mayla. Eir and Keli L'mayla, even though it's Helem, it's not like a goof, and it's all one. It's just a question of revelation or not. Again, the Tzimtzum is not Kipshuta, not even in the Eir. That's the big Chiddush. It's not even in the Eir, which means to say in revelation and in a sense and awareness of higher, of greater expression of Hashem and longing for that. That remains at every level of Hishtalshalos because the Tzimtzum is not Kipshuta, not even in the Eir. So the Arichas, after the Tzimtzum comes the Kav Kotzer, and he says, and this is called the Eish Chayra, because it's Eir, Eish is Eir, but it's Chayra, it's dark, because it's now Nimshach in the Hishtalshalos has begun, where it's hardcore Eiris and Kalim. The Tzimtzum, this is all post-Tzimtzum. And moreover, he calls it Eish Chayra, because the whole Kavanah is, the whole intent is that it should illuminate, the Eish should illuminate the Chayra. Should illuminate its lahoyer shachus v'choshech hatzimtzum. And that's why it's called Eish Chayra, in terms of its kavan and intent. And this is the Malak Kalam. He said this is concludes this is the longing of a Malak Kalam to save the Kalam. Malak Kalam is Eish Chayra. Sevev is Eish Levana. Seviv is that which is where the Gilui is in an overt way, not touched pre-Tzimtzum. And even though he has way adds over here that this Loshen Chassidus says that even in this no gavoy hatzimtzum, because the tzimtzum happens in this you can't divide it. Tzimtzum happens in the asayim. It's separated. It's no gavoy. So this is an akudah that it's known that the tzimtzum is not the itself, but the whole tzimtzum is only in terms of its revelation, the makom machala. It was a mispashet. The tzimtzum affects that it's not doesn't illuminate there, but there's no change and it's present. Like the Rabbi said, a famous, just a beautiful expression with the famous verbrengen of Tu B'Shvat. Tu B'Shvat, Tovshin Lamed Tes. It was on a rare occasion where the Rebbe Poshet was arguing with God in public, in our presence, crying, "What do you want from a boss of Adon?" The whole mashal of a father hiding, and the whole point of him hiding is that the child should search for him. And the Rebbe was crying. Sunday he searched, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What do you want from a boss of Adon? Pleading. Anyway, it was a whole much of all the years, I don't think there was a sikha like this. But in the course of that, I remember that Rebbe said that he mentioned Soivev Kalalmin, and he says, because of the Cheshach HaGolos, the Jew teaches Soivev Arum al Arum. He translates it. He relates to it literally that it's around, surrounds it. But it is Hashem really within us. He flounders, he's philosophic. Saying that it's not that. The Giluyim, and therefore the presence, and therefore the connection and the longing, because you long for something that's real, that you have a connection to, is present in the tzimtzum. So he goes on to say the end of his gimel that this is in every darga v'ishtalshalos. However, the ikar is in Malchus. Why? Because the Malchus is complete halal. Like it says at the end of the mind, but Malchus is not even an articulated teichen of a letter, of a word. It's just the guttural breath from which all letters are formed. It's pshitus in its halal. And because it's so utterly concealed, because therefore the longing of Malchus is the most intense. And as it says here, these beautiful words at the end of Eis Gimel, he's touching the Zoya, that the lower light calls constantly to the higher Eir. The Lo Shochech, it can't be calmed and quieted. So he's daled from this chelis ava in Malchus, and that's the critical, because we, neshamas come from Malchus, we're meaning to say, neshamas don't come from Malchus. Neshamas, that's Malchus is with neshamas are all gathered, as it were. That's the Knesset Yisrael. And from there, sent down to the world, in one journey or another. So, because the Kavanas did it, but the Neshama has to come in Guf Gashmi Lamata, and the critical step is Malchus. That's the Shekhinah. So that's where the Neshama comes from. So she carries this yearning and longing of Malchus, which is Malchus, that Silas is much more profound, that she carries this with her here Lamata. And that's the Tzimoin Falikus. He feels his distance. And it's in such a way, he says that not satisfied by anything. On the contrary, the more he sends in Oir, the more he senses the distance. So much so, he says, Chelis Av. Ve'chal Moishe, one of the meanings of Ve'chal Moishe after Chet HaEgel is that he was grasped by sickness, because he understood the Geidel ha'ein arech would be the context of the Yidden had fallen. And Chet HaEgel, so that's the pshat. And therefore, pshat in Gemara, they fell so low, he became sick over it. Meaning, grasping understanding from where they fell, where they were, and where they're fallen. So now more detail, what is the objective ultimately? He says higher on the contrary, higher the person understands in his hasaga. Moishe Rabbeinu's hasaga was very high, that's why Ve'chal Moishe. The illness is greater because Chayes became Matya Mentes. So here is where he links there. What is this? What's the quest? What's the quest that drives every neshama? So non nosiv malka. That's what it is. I want the king alone. He has memta shari bina. He's missing sharano. Even the memta shari bina is very lofty, and it's the highest a person can reach through avodah, and that's the problem. He's reached this through his avodah, but I want you as you are, not as I perceive you. That's the Sharanun. And not he's more detailed. Not only does he have the 49, but he has even the Sharanun as it illuminates and is drawn into the Shar Memtes, which means perhaps in simple language, he has us, like we're talking now here, we are talking Sharanun and Atzmos. He knows all this, and that's not like lost on him. But it's just knowing it. He doesn't want to just know. He wants the etzem. And therefore he's chayla. And for sure, if he doesn't have the ha'ara of chachma, as it is in Bina, and he's just locked in the world of intellectual understanding, it's all Hakabala. And so for sure, and he intellectually knows that he's missing. So the tzimon is even greater. It's a little bit of a stira. I'm not going to address it now. But the previous, actually said, the higher you go, the greater the longing. Here you said no. Here you went a step down. That Mikoshke, when it's only Shah Memtes and doesn't hold by where the Shah Nun illuminates Memtes, then the longing is even greater. Sounds external like a stira. It's not a stira. Because it's the Shah Memtes. This is the apex of understanding of a person's reach, and the level he said before when the Shah Hanun is Meir. That's not just intellectual. That is taka, a level of connection, a real level of connection. But in Shah Memtes alone, he has only the understanding of the existence of the Etzem, but not his experience. So therefore, the Tzimon is very great. But when there's a ha'ara, so it's shaykhs. What he's saying here is it's shaykhs through our own avodah to be connected with such a bittul where there's a ha'ara of sharan and refused. At the end, he said at the end of the next, this ois at the end, the eitzah. Hashem doesn't leave us floundering. The eitzah is the pasuk. Samchuni b'ashishus, surround me with, support me with food and drink. Riftuni b'tapuchim, surround me with apples, with fragrant apples. Kecheles ava ani v'ay lafsik. The food and drink is Torah mitzvahs, and the aroma is tshuva. So it's through Torah mitzvahs. It's through Torah mitzvahs that this thirst is slated. Now, so the shaila is, putting the question to you, and just occurring to me now. You have to think deeper about this. So, Ma'abaya, who doesn't do Torah mitzvahs, put on tefillin. We're talking about someone who doesn't keep Torah mitzvahs, it's Chayles Ava, he doesn't keep Shabbos, doesn't put on tefillin. Chayles Ava is only Memtes, Shari Binda. Or even the order of Sharanun. And the big Chiddush, Torah mitzvahs, the tshuva. He's not doing Torah mitzvahs. No, the answer is the Eitzim that Simon says, if he doesn't have this Eitzim, if he's not engaged in it. Why would he have this? Talking about a chassid of the highest level, a yid. Huh? It's a very simple question. L'chura, I'm just suggesting, look for other sources. L'chura, it means that in the avodah of Torah mitzvahs and tshuva, it has to be done with pure Kabbalah's oil because of the Nisava, because of the Eivishter ones, Etzemo. As if to say, the paradox is, your Cheles Av will be requited when you no longer, when you transcend your need to be connected. And the Avodah is mitzad, the Kavanah. And you forget about yourself. And you're doing, that's true tshuva, and that's true to Avodah, to the mitzvahs, and the Kabbalah soil. Then, when it's about him, and not about my pining and love sickness for him, that's when the love sickness is requited, is quenched. So that's the tachlis avodah. He's not even aware. In other words, the love sickness is addressed, but he's not even aware. It's not even the gear. It's you alone. The chorah. If anybody else wants to add something, please do. Okay, Oisei. Let's do Oisei. So Moishe was the avodah. It fits with everything you're saying now, particularly now. Moishe, avodah, he said, from this sickness is mishtalsh and lower levels, all the lower levels of illness. It means illness ruchni lamata. And as we told you, that strings together here all the places in Medrash, Bavli, Yerushalmi, and Medrash, where Chazal address what is the chayli, Veheisir Hashem b'chol chayli. And he puts them in descending order, from the highest level then to the lowest level. And just to trace them through, the first thing is he gives a place for the Yitzhak. Famous Gemara, Yitzhak doesn't tell a person go to Avodah Zarah. He says, I say lachakach, do this, and then he says do this, and then do that, and finally go to Avodah Zarah. What's the first do so? What's the say lachakach? I say kach, do so. What's he telling you to do? You need to do mitzvahs. He's saying, I'm also part of this. There's an agenda. Yitzhak is masking to the avodah, but I'm on board. So that's the first thing. Just allowing us that will the Yitzhak in, but we don't have much choice. That's how it starts. That's the Shalei Lishma. But if you're going to be stuck with the Shalei Lishma, the mitoich, the pnimi says Lishma. But it's easy to not to get to the mitoich and to keep on going with the Yitzhak's agenda. And the next thing is tzina, cold. It's exciting because the agenda was achieved. You got the cover, the excitement, whatever. Yitzhak he was looking for them, but then it gets boring. So the next thing is chayli zutzina, coldness. Then there's the next, another opinion. Is all from this is from Yerushalmi, that's Bavli. Chayli zusreifa, this is fever. Not only is he called to Yiddishkeit, now he's got his excitement that he's had then, which was an agenda excitement. Excitement is now another agenda excitement. He's got to go somewhere. So he's excited about other things. Chmim is the Eish Zara, excited with foreign fires. And then Chayli Zurayan, the mind. That means an idea of the mind. Now he's confused. He has no peace of mind. Some part of the confusion is the guilt. And he says really because there's no das. There's no das means he doesn't connect to it. He doesn't connect to what he's learning. He doesn't connect to his Yiddishkeit. He does it, but not in the pneumius. When you see the Zoya, Eter, I didn't look it up, but the Eter explains the Zoya, Kel Acher, Isteris, V'loi Ovid Pire. It means not able to produce fruit, to emasculate it, Sodis, meaning not producing fruit. He's not moved by it, because there's no das. Understanding he has Chachman Bina, but das, that's only Kedusha. The conviction, the achra, the conviction. So his mind is meshaited, is literally swimming. And there's no peace of mind. That's the worst. And the final thing is another opinion there. Bitterness, that's literally the gallbladder that then becomes overflows and contaminates the body. It all started sweet, but the end is, according to Pasuk, her end, it's a harder, the seduction, she is bitter like wormwood. All of this is nishtalsha from Chayles Av. Really, it's all because, and that's the quest of every one of us, is the Shalom. The Avodah is Shmi and Asoga, hears and understands, but to see it. When that's missing, everything else follows. You know, it's kind of by Yid, it's all or nothing. It's just not going to work stuck in Ishtalshalus and Dargis. Connected properly to the Eibishter, mitzvah the Eibishter. That's Re'iyah, and if that's missing, then everything else starts to crumble. Nothing else will satisfy. Now, Dafke Yid, because he is a chelik of the Kalam Mal Mamish. Almost a Olam, have a very beautiful spiritual life and a fulfilling life. The highest madreg is of Oyer. And no chelis Av. But for Yid, it can't go. Since his neshama is rooted in Atzmos, if it's not going to be a pasha, the connection to the Eibishter, and his whole life is his kavana, even though that requires Kabbalah, discipline, and everything else. And therefore we resist it because it's complete bittul. But he's only going to find his menuchas and nefesh when he's in complete bittul. It's a paradox. Think that's going to destroy him, constant Kabbalah sale, and it's going to exhaust him, deplete him. It's not so. It's in the true Avodah of Bittul that he truly resonates and alive. Because that's the end of the day what a Yid is. A Yid factored into him, and that's the major Shtalshalos then, is this Chaylis Ava. Nothing will satiate other than complete and true Avodah. To whatever degree each one of us can have glimpses of it, or at least aspire to it. Okay, we'll conclude the Chazara tomorrow.